She was screaming. Not just raising her voice. I mean full-on shrieking in the middle of aisle 9 like she caught someone stealing her purse. But there was no thief. No fight. No chaos. Just my 14-year-old son, Liam. He was standing there, holding a bottle of orange juice, completely frozen as this woman, mid-50s, pixie haircut, leopard print blouse like she was starring in her own drama, got up in his face and yelled, "Are you dumb or something? I asked you a question." And Liam didn't move. Didn't answer. Didn't even look at her. Because Liam is deaf. And he never saw her coming. I swear, the entire grocery store went silent. It was a Sunday afternoon, you know, that peaceful time when people are just picking up dinner for the week. But now every single cart in that aisle had stopped. Because this woman was unhinged. And my son, my sweet, quiet, brilliant son, was the target. I hadn't reacted yet. I was standing just 2 shelves over. And for a split second I froze too. Because this wasn't just rude. This wasn't just ignorant. This was cruel. And she didn't even know what she was about to walk into. Because I'm not just Liam's dad. I'm Special Agent Marcus Dean. FBI. And Karen was about to learn the hard way what happens when you go after a child who can't defend himself, especially when his dad carries a badge. It had been one of those calm, almost boring Sundays, the kind where nothing's supposed to happen. Liam and I were just running errands. My wife, Claire, was out of town for the weekend visiting her sister, so it was just us two. A classic father-son day. We'd gone to the comic book shop, grabbed some fries from that place he loves, and now we were at the grocery store to pick up some ingredients for pasta, his favorite. Liam had been doing well lately. Really well. For years, he struggled to find confidence around people. Not because he was deaf, but because people, well, people can be awful. They treat deafness like a character flaw. Like being different makes you lesser. But Liam had been working hard in therapy, learning to communicate better, getting used to his hearing aid, trying sign language with confidence. It wasn't perfect, it never is, but that boy had made strides. He was actually excited to help with the shopping. He insisted on picking out the drinks himself. That orange juice was for him. We were maybe 10 feet apart. He was in aisle 9, and I was in aisle 8 grabbing pasta sauce. I could still see him over the shelves. He looked so grown up, comparing labels like a mini chef. I remember smiling to myself. It was one of those tiny parenting moments that warms your chest. You don't expect anything to ruin it. And then, I heard her. First, it was just a sharp tone. You know, that nasal. "Excuse me?" That has Karen written all over it. Then came a louder snap. Then yelling. At first, I thought maybe he'd accidentally bumped someone's cart or taken something by mistake. But as I turned the corner and saw the scene, Karen standing over him, arms flailing, voice rising, it hit me that this was something entirely different. She thought he was ignoring her. Because Liam, being who he is, didn't respond when she spoke. He didn't hear her. He wasn't even facing her. And that, apparently, set her off. This wasn't just an overreaction. This was targeted rage. The kind of rage that festers in people who feel entitled to control the world around them, and lose their minds when it doesn't go their way. I watched for a second. I wanted to see how far she'd go. I needed to be sure of what I was witnessing before I stepped in. But what I saw, it made my blood boil. She leaned in, to my son's face and practically shouted, "You little brat! You think you can just ignore me? Who raised you? Where are your parents?" And Liam, God bless him, he just stood there. Frozen. Hurt. Ashamed. It wasn't the first time someone had yelled at him like that. But I could tell it hit differently this time. He was trying so hard to just be normal. To do a normal thing like pick out juice at a store. And here she was, treating him like trash in front of a crowd. I felt something shift in me. Not the agent. Not the badge. Just the father. And the father had had enough. By the time I stepped into the aisle, Liam was shaking. His hands trembled around the bottle of orange juice, and he kept glancing around, clearly confused by the noise but unsure what he'd done wrong. And Karen? She just kept going. You kids today think you're so special. She spat, loud enough for half the store to hear. Walking around with your AirPods and your entitled attitudes. I asked you a simple question and you just ignored me? Her voice had that cutting, sharp edge, the kind people use when they want to humiliate, not communicate. He's deaf, I said firmly but calm, stepping beside Liam and placing my hand on his shoulder. Karen blinked. What? She said, scoffing. Oh, sure. Deaf. Right. I didn't flinch. Yes. Deaf. Since birth. And I still can't believe this, she laughed. Oh, please. If he's deaf, then how did he know I was talking to him? He looked at me. No, I said, my voice dropping half an octave. He looked around because you were yelling. And even then, he still didn't understand a word of what you said. Because he's not just deaf. He's scared now. Thanks to you? She crossed her arms. Well, maybe if he can't handle being in public like a normal kid, he shouldn't be here at all. This isn't a daycare for special needs. That's when I saw red. Not anger. Not yet. It was something colder. Something heavier. Like an anchor dropping inside me. Because I've heard things in my life, interrogated criminals, watched confessions, seen people at their absolute worst, but nothing hits harder than someone attacking your kid for simply existing. Around us, a crowd had started to gather. People with carts frozen mid-step. One woman was covering her mouth. A young guy had pulled out his phone and was recording. And Liam? Liam was now signing frantically to me, shaking his hands, his face pale, asking if he'd done something wrong. My heart broke in real time. I turned to him, responded in sign. You're okay. You did nothing wrong. Karen rolled her eyes. Oh, for crying out loud, are you really gonna keep up this little game? I've worked in education for years and I've never seen a deaf kid act like this. Ah. There it was. The Karen classic. I work in education. As if that gives her the moral high ground to bully a child in a supermarket. And still, I held back. Barely. Because I wanted the moment to play out. I wanted witnesses. I wanted her to keep talking. And oh, she did. This is what's wrong with this generation, she declared, practically performing for the people now. Coddling. Everyone's so sensitive. If he can't take a little discipline, what's he gonna do in the real world? I could have ended it there. I could have flashed my badge, pulled her aside, and shut the whole thing down. But something in me, maybe the father, maybe the Fed, knew she needed one more inch of rope. And she gave it to me. Because she took a step forward, and grabbed Liam's arm. Just a quick jerk, like she was trying to get his attention. But enough to make him flinch and drop the juice. It hit the floor and exploded like a firecracker. That was it. That's the moment something clicked in the crowd. There were gasps. Phones recording. Someone shouted, "Did she just grab him?" And Liam, he stumbled backward, nearly slipping in the puddle. I caught him. And that's when I stepped forward, calmly reached into my jacket, pulled out my badge, and held it up for everyone to see. "Ma'am," I said, "you just assaulted a minor. In front of a federal officer. Congratulations." And just like that, Karen went dead silent. She froze. Her mouth opened, then closed. Like a fish gasping for words. The smugness on her face strained out faster than the juice on the floor. She stared at the badge in my hand. Federal issue. Polished. Clear. The 3 letters bold and unmistakable, FBI. And I didn't say a word for a full 5 seconds. I let it sink in. The entire aisle was dead silent. You could hear the beep of a checkout scanner 5 lanes away. I turned slightly so everyone could see. A quiet murmur rolled through the onlookers like a wave. "He's FBI." Karen's arms dropped to her sides. I didn't know," she stammered, her voice suddenly soft, breathy, like a scared schoolgirl. I gave her a look I've used 100 times, on suspects, liars, cowards, but never thought I'd use on a woman screaming at my deaf son in a grocery store. No, I said. You didn't. She started to fumble. Look, I didn't mean anything by it. I just thought, how was I supposed to know he was deaf? I cut her off. You didn't need to know. What you did need to do was treat him like a human being. I bent down, helped Liam step over the mess, and stood between him and her. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't threatening. I was just done. I watched you for a full minute before I stepped in. I saw how you treated him. How you mocked him. How you grabbed him. She backed up half a step. He's a child. You had no idea what he was going through. No idea why he wasn't answering. But you decided to attack first. Loudly. Publicly. Karen's eyes darted toward the phone still filming. Her cheeks flushed bright red. I'm sorry, she said quickly, her voice trembling. I didn't know. That's the problem, I said. You didn't care to know. She looked around, probably hoping someone would speak up for her. Defend her. But nobody moved. Not one. The crowd was firmly not on her side now. And Liam was just staring at her. His eyes were glassy, but he wasn't crying. Just watching her. And in that moment it hit me. This wasn't just about the yelling. Or the juice. Or even the arm grab. It was about what people like her represent to kids like him. A world that doesn't slow down. That doesn't care. That judges first and apologizes never. And this was his first time seeing that world crack under its own weight. I turned to one of the store managers who had walked up and was standing awkwardly at the end of the aisle. Do you have security footage of this section? He nodded quickly. Yes, sir. Multiple angles. Good, I said loud enough for Karen to hear. You'll want to save a copy of this. Because if she lays a hand on anyone else in here, or tries to lie about what happened, we'll be filing charges. Karen gasped. Charges? I said I was sorry. You screamed at a deaf minor, called him names, and grabbed him in public. I said coldly. That's assault. You're lucky I'm not placing you under arrest right now. And for the first time all day, she shut up. No backtalk. No excuse. Just silent, red-faced shame. The kind that doesn't wash off easily. The manager looked between me and Karen, visibly uncomfortable but professional. Sir, he said cautiously, would you like me to call local law enforcement? I looked at Liam. His hands were shaking less now, but his eyes hadn't left Karen. I could tell he was holding his breath, waiting to see what I'd do. So I made my decision not as an agent. Not even as a father. But as someone who's watched too many bullies walk away with nothing more than a shrug and a second chance. Yes, I said. Call them. Karen's face twisted. You can't be serious. But I didn't even look at her. Instead, I knelt down next to Liam and signed. You're safe. And she's going to be held responsible. I promise. He nodded. Just once. And I saw it. The tiniest flicker of peace returned to his eyes. 10 minutes later, 2 officers arrived. One was a tall black woman with sergeant stripes, the other a younger Latino officer still fresh out of academy by the look of him. They approached respectfully, but the moment I showed them my badge and briefly recounted what happened, including pointing to at least 3 people who had filmed the entire encounter, their faces hardened. Ma'am, the sergeant said, turning to Karen. We need you to come with us. Karen exploded. What? No. I didn't do anything wrong. That kid, he didn't even say anything. The sergeant didn't flinch. He didn't have to. We have multiple witnesses. And video. You're being detained for questioning regarding public disturbance, harassment, and possible assault of a minor. But I said I was sorry. The younger officer stepped forward, calm but firm. You grabbed a child, ma'am. You don't get to erase that was sorry. And before she could say another word, they cuffed her. Right there, in the middle of aisle 9. Next to the shattered bottle of orange juice. In front of a dozen silent onlookers, most of whom now had their phones up, filming. As they walked her out, she kept shouting. He should have said something. How was I supposed to know? But no one responded. She was yelling into a void. And the moment the doors closed behind her, the entire store felt lighter. Like a storm had passed and taken all its poison with it. The manager turned to me, his voice low. I'm so sorry that happened, sir. Please let us replace everything. Groceries on the house. I declined politely. Then turned back to Liam, who, for the first time since that woman had started yelling, smiled. Just a little. We walked out of that store with our cart full, heads high, and dignity intact. Karen? She left in the back of a squad car. We sat in the car for a while before driving off. The grocery bags were in the back seat. The sun had started dipping low behind the trees. And Liam was sitting beside me, staring out the window, quiet. I signed to him. You okay? He nodded slowly, then signed back. Why did she hate me? And man, I swear my heart cracked a little right there. What do you say to your child, who's done nothing wrong, when the world just decided to throw its worst at him? I took a deep breath and replied, she didn't hate you. She hated what she didn't understand. And that's not your fault. That's hers. He blinked at me, then asked, will she come back? I shook my head. No. She won't be allowed in that store again. And people like her? They may yell loud, but the world's starting to listen to the right voices now. He smiled. A real one this time. And I knew, in that tiny grin, that he felt safe again. Later that night, when I told my wife everything, she cried. Not just because of what happened, but because of how Liam handled it. He didn't lash out. Didn't panic. He stayed calm, even when his body wanted to break. That night, I couldn't help but replay it all in my head, how fast things spiraled. How close it came to turning ugly. And how many people saw what really happens when someone who thinks they're untouchable finally faces someone who can't be ignored. The videos went viral, by the way. Turns out, at least 3 different shoppers posted clips of Karen's outburst online. One of them even got the moment she grabbed Liam's arm, and my badge coming out a second later. The internet did what it does best. Karen's identity got exposed. Her educator claims turned out to be a lie. She hadn't worked in a school in years. And within days, the store confirmed she was permanently banned from every branch in the region. But honestly, that part didn't matter most. What mattered was what Liam said to me a week later, out of nowhere. We were at home making dinner, the same pasta we planned to cook that day, and he signed, I want to go back to the store. I looked at him, surprised. Really? He nodded. Yeah. I don't want to be scared of it anymore. And we did. We went back. And this time, the cashier recognized him. Smiled wide. Signed thank you. A couple shoppers even waved at him like he was a local hero. He was still the same kid, still deaf, still quiet. But now, he was walking through the world just a little taller. And me? I was reminded of something I've seen over and over in my line of work. Sometimes the scariest people aren't criminals. They're the loud, arrogant ones who think kindness is weakness, and cruelty is power. But every now and then, justice walks into a grocery store in a windbreaker and badge, and shows them otherwise. Not all heroes wear capes. Some wear hearing aids. Some carry a badge. And sometimes, they're both standing in aisle 9, waiting for the world to do the right thing.